Hello, happy Tuesday. Welcome back to another episode of The Practice. This show is an unrehearsed look into my creative process. I'm Stuart. I'm a 3D artist, illustrator, designer, and your pal. And I'm excited to have you back for another episode. I think episode 196. Had some technical difficulties a few minutes ago, so I'm looking at this YouTube channel, making sure I'm live. There I am. Okay, infinite feedback loop. Let's close that down. Here we are. All right, so try number 2 for the day. I think that most of you probably didn't see that little error in the beginning. Getting a little bit of a late start today, but let's dive right into it. So thanks for joining, everyone. And as you can see, I am starting right here in Adobe Fuse, which is a fairly specialized program, really just about putting together, biped human character models. I'm going to use a female humanoid character model just to kind of begin here. Very minor customization, and I'm going to make an illustration that uses sort of a simplified human form. So what I'm going to do is just quickly generate this female character, send it over to Mixamo. Hey, White Venom, happy Tuesday to you. Thanks for joining. So now what I'm doing is just sending this directly over to Mixamo. It's a really cool little feature, both of which are included, both Adobe Fuse and Mixamo are included in Creative Cloud. Super duper handy. And there's a couple ways you can do this. You can use this just to rig your character, which is really nice because it'll give you a super clean rigged setup that's all bound to the geometry and usually is quite clean. And I've used that in a couple ways. One way is to just simply rig it and pose it myself. Another way to use it is to use some of the built-in animations that Mixamo provides. So you can see now we've got our T-pose lady. We've got a whole bunch of different things we could pull from. I'm going to go to a search sitting, and there's sort of a cross-legged position that I have in mind for the illustration I want to work on today. So let's see if we can find that. I'm actually going to say cross-leg. There we go. Not quite what I want, but we can go ahead and customize all this as we get in. So I'm going to open the arm space just a little bit. Which is fine. You see we have some intersections here, and there's some stuff that I'm not exactly loving. Don't love the posture on this person yet, but we're going to adjust all that. So I'm going to go ahead and download it. And we'll probably wind up stripping out, I'm positive we'll wind up stripping out most of the frames. I'm going to decide on a frame that I like. I'm going to adjust this model just so that the positioning is a little bit closer to what we want, and then we'll be in good shape. This can take a moment to download, which is no worry. Expected that. We'll get into it. So the idea I have is to have this cross-legged figure, and I'm gonna sort of cover up the head. I want really like a simple spherical head on this character. And what we're going to do is we're going to cover it in plants and mushrooms and make this sort of lush, fungus-covered humanoid character that's sort of sitting in a meditative position. That's the idea for the illustration today. So this is starting to download. We'll get there soon. What I can even do is start creating some of those mushrooms. Maybe we grab a cylinder shape. Do some of those like sort of wood ear mushrooms. Get ahead of this a little bit. Sometimes it takes a minute to process this and get it downloaded. Still much faster than rigging yourself, so it's a good thing. Some segments to the caps here. What we can do is let's see what kind of deformer we're going to use. Just use. Good way to do this. I might do what a wind deformer. Put that on there just to get a little bit of deformation on this guy. Deformers are turned on. Wonder why I can't see that. Go. Eyes down. And the amplitude, just want something gentle here. Very gentle. There we go, something like that. All right, so that's a little bit of a head start. Let's see how we're doing over here. All right, so got our downloaded pose. Let's go ahead and I'm going to add that to my project folder. An important thing to note is when you're bringing in something from Mixamo or a lot of other, I'm going to turn this off for the moment. When you're bringing a file into an existing file, it's instead of, I mean, you can just drag and drop it in here, which is one way to do it, but you sort of wind up losing some of the functionality. So really the best way to do it is I'm going to delete all that. And actually it just opened it on its own. That's not the way to do it. I'm going to close that. What you really want to do is you want to go File, Merge Objects. That's going to bring in a more complete set of all the parameters that are already inside of that object. So here we go. Now let's repose slightly. We're already pretty close to the position we want to be in. What's up, Surin? What's weird about these Mixamo models is the eyelashes always come in as a separate object. Don't need those. Default is these eyeballs. Don't need those either. I'm going to delete them. And then let's pose. Now I mentioned before that I want to change the posture up. That neck looks like it's kind of hurting a bit. Let's rotate that up a little. Get a nice. The idea that I have is sort of a nice meditative posture. And double click here to open that up. Am I excited for the PS5 tomorrow? You know what, to be honest, I didn't even know that the PS5 was coming out. Not much of a gamer, by the way. You know what I'm gonna do? See, now I hit undo and I lost everything, and that's because this is a animated pose. If we open all this, you can see that there's a couple of keyframes. So I'm gonna open this whole thing, expand all, I'm gonna select all, and then I'm going to select all down here and just delete them. And now I got to sort of start over again with that posing, but that's all right. We didn't lose much. Hey, what's up, Benjamin? Thanks for tuning in. So let's get back in here. Kind of give our friend here slightly better posture. Particularly in the neck, that was kind of painful. There we go. I'm also just going to go ahead and strip out these materials. We're not going to need that. Not going to need that. Let's add ground plane. Set borders at sea level. Way too many sub-keys. Let's just go 10 by 10. Go. Let's just assume this character has better hip flexibility. See how quickly we've got this posed humanoid character pretty much where we want them, right? And now we're going to really customize this and add a lot of details. Obviously, this is not going to be our final image, but it does a lot of the work for us. All right, and I'm also going to decide on a camera angle fairly early here. So let's kind of get a head-on view. I'm going to zero this out. And I'm just now our buddy here already on a bit of an angle. Let's rotate her a little bit more head on, and I like that there's some asymmetry. The poses from Mixamo come from actual motion capture of actors and models, and that's great because it gives us very realistic body positions. People aren't perfectly symmetrical, and when they sit, there's also often little variations, and this is going to help us achieve that. Cool. Nice. And there was some weirdness going on with the folding of the hips, but I'm not going to worry about that because they're going to be sort of out of view. I'm also going to go to a square format right out of the gate. That's pretty good. That's a good start. Now, oops, that's not what I wanted. Grab a sphere. Like I said, not going to be using the head here. Really simplify things. What I'll probably do, say body. I'm going to copy that bad boy. And I like to make sort of an off layer, an off null. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, just add a smooth deformer into the body. And that's going to sort of just simplify things. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I don't want to kill all of that. I want to kill all of that detail. It sort of smooths things out. Now what I don't like is that the fingers get really skinny. What I'm going to do here to thicken those up. I'm going to select the tips of the fingers and the tips of the toes, both sides. Just thicken those up. And that's the reason that I made a duplicate of this object. That way I've got a backup if I need it. What's up, Chris? Oh yeah, for sure. Glad you like it. Wind deformers and formula deformers are really useful for just creating a little bit of gentle sort of curving or sort of fluidity there. All right. I'm going to hit UI a bunch of times, and UI is just grow selection. Let's see what we got there. I'm going to keep hitting it, actually, until we've got the whole hand and the ankles. I think we've got too much of the feet down here, so I'm just going to hold Control, lose some of these. Still getting used to the difference between Control and Command as a new PC user. Let's see if I can go an entire stream without hitting that Windows key. No promises. All right, and then now that I've got those selected, I'm just going to go to Smooth Shift. Just make them a bit thicker, right? And then, oh golly, that's not what I wanted. I think what's happening is where we have new geometry, it's getting kind of messed up. But what we can do, go into the body, select it. Then I'm going to go into the character weight tool. Let's find the appropriate joint and we'll just paint it in. So probably left forearm, add that in. I'm just holding shift, painting over this stuff. Boom. And now that's not perfectly smooth, but that's okay. We're going to be covering most of the stuff up. Select the right forearm and just add that, holding shift. Very good. Let's see, the ankle's janky too. Yeah, the ankles are pretty messed up. So let's go down to left leg. It'll probably be left foot. Well, let's see what we have. Character weight tool. Now it's called left leg. I have to be a little bit careful here. Since it looks like that geometry is inside. So I'm going to select the body as well. Go to this sheet. Just holding shift, painting that over. Leg. All right, now let's see what we got. All right, so getting pretty close. Whoops, and I forgot to get out of my camera here. So let's see if I can hit Command Shift Z a bunch of times and get to my central frontal orientation. Maybe not. Whoa there. Let's keep it PG. Okay, cool. Back on our camera. I'm going to add a protection tag just so I don't do that again. Boom. All right. How's everyone doing today? What are you guys all working on? Now we have this very simple humanoid character. I'm going to add the sphere into this body. Whoops, looks like I added the protection tag to the body, not the camera. Let's swap that over. What we could do as well is just kind of delete that head. Saw that chin poking through, but I'll just move this forward a little bit. That should be all right. Okay, so now sort of comes the fun part. What I want to do is add a whole bunch of different stuff to this character. Now what I'm going to do first, let's see, what's the best way to handle this first? First, I think I'm going to use the cloning tool to add just a little bit all over, and then we're going to go in and add some stuff by hand. So first, let's just take a sphere, put them over there. I'm going to make it icosahedron, drop down the polys because these are going to be pretty small. This should stay pretty smooth. Fingernails, huh? Doing medical illustration. That's kind of cool. But yes, sounds tedious. So let's throw that in the cloner. Let's turn this to object. Add our body. Object. Surface. Let's see. Let's turn the count up. All 100. And then with the cloner selected, I'm going to random just so I can get different sizes. I don't want to move position. I do want to move scale though. Make it just a little bit smaller. I think we can add some more. And then let's also add push apart vector. Push apart. Now that's too much. Let's say 2. That way things aren't overlapping too much. All right. Organize things a little bit. call this ball cloner. Got a little group going on there. We've got sort of our fungus shape. Let's go ahead and add some of those around. Ooh, there. Not much going on, just been learning about the ACEs workflow. Tell us about that. What is the ACEs workflow? Cool. I'll start doing a couple test renderings here. I'm just going to start with ambient occlusion. Just knock some of these out. And actually, let's add some very simple lighting as well. I think, given the way everything is, I want to do a spotlight. Cool. I'm liking this already. I think this is a good start. Let's make some more mushroom style shapes. So I'm just going to pop into a new file. Let's try this. Let's see. Expand that. First, you know what I'm going to do actually is let's unexpand it. Caps. Now, for whatever reason, cylinders, when you expand them, are broken. Right? So if I grab this and move it up, weirdness. So, and it doesn't have a create single object function. Come on, Cinema. So I'm just going to throw this into a connect object, expand that, turn the font down a little bit, and I'm just going to extrude it a bunch of times. This will be kind of a more typical mushroom shape. I'm just using the extrude tool and the scale tool. Just switching back and forth between D and T. Whoops. Got a basic sort of mushroom here. Hit U then Y a bunch of times. I think I actually want to make the cap a little bigger, a little flatter. Nice. Copy that, hop back into my other file. Huh. Woohoo, too big. Sort of a small scale friend here. Now, I'm going to kind of do this by hand. I could make a rig with a spline warp tool, like one of these guys. Spline wrap, rather. But I'm just going to do it by hand. That was expand selection. So basically what that allows me to do is grow the selection. I'm going to turn my soft selection on. I'm going to pull this stem down and just kind of bend it a little bit. Give us that kind of mushroomy shape. Nice. Because mushrooms, even if they're growing out of the side of something, they tend to have their caps oriented straight up in the air. So now we're just going to kind of position these. And go back and kind of modify some of those. In fact, I'm going to modify this one now. That moved some of the cap, but I'm not so worried about that. You know, mushrooms are not perfectly identical, so that's going to be fine. I think the idea is that this wacky character has been sitting, meditating so long. All this fungus started growing on top of them. Pretty crazy, right? I'm thinking it might take a little longer than a typical 2 hours to do this image, but that's fine because the last couple of episodes have been fairly short. What's up, Black Fox Studio? Thanks for tuning in. All right. Even though we've got those spheres in a cloner, I want to control the position of some of them a little more closely. Some randomness is good, but then, you know, I want to control the composition as well. So add some of those in. All right. I'm going to make another file. I've got another idea for a fungus type. So let's clone this. Let's call it radial cloner. Let's change the plane. A whole bunch more. going to, yeah, like scale them way in. And then I'm going to use, let's see what the push apart does for us here. Not much. Pretty much the same thing, actually, so. Let's randomize that. Got to select it, so let's do that. That's probably a little better. I'm going to add this to group just so I can, not to a group, to a null, just so I can shift that up a little bit and have the axis at the bottom. I want to angle these guys out just a little bit. And now I've got sort of those hairy dudes, kind of fuzzy fungus looking things. I'm gonna open the push apart just a little bit. How's my country coping with the lockdown? Asks Black Fox Studios. Mixed results. The state that I live in, Texas, has started a phased reopen. I think we're in phase 2 now. There's been a rise in cases, but not a huge rise in cases. So I think they're probably going to continue opening up. Personally, I'm not going to be the first guy to get in line at the restaurants, but I understand people are really cooped up. And beyond just like the sort of social implications, I think folks with small businesses are really struggling. I think people are wanting to get back to work. I'm gonna make a few more rotation segments just so we get some smoothness. And then let's see, use formula guy. Get a little bit of waviness. Yeah, no, this is kind of what I want. This sort of thing, right? Awesome. Cool. And everything is so big when I copy it back in. Fees, whatever. Scale all that down. I'm also going to turn this formula's visibility off. I got some of these kind of wavy, hairy things, which are kind of sweet. Actually, I'm happy with how these turned out. Add a few to the top here. We're just really working this process. We're gonna be adding lots of cool fungus looking things, using cloners to keep them flexible, sort of easy to work with. How about you, Black Fox? How's your area coping with the lockdown? You guys doing all right? It's been tough. I mean, I'm a lucky guy in that I'm married, so I'm not totally alone. I've got a new puppy who's helping keep us company. I can continue working remotely. I'm lucky enough to have the type of job that allows me to continue working from my computer at home. But I'll tell you, I've still had some really low lows. It's been kind of, you know, it's been a struggle at times, especially with all the sad stuff that's happening in our country. I hate. I don't. I almost always avoid being political. But there's some really sad events. I should say I avoid being political on this show. I don't know if anyone tuned in. I didn't get a ton of viewers last week, but I did a piece that was, in support of the current movement and, kind of urging people to unify. Everything is just really political and feels really ugly, and it's kind of a stressful time. I think there's a lot of pent up aggression, and people have been blowing off steam with the protests, rightfully so in a lot of cases. And then there's people out there who are, peacefully protesting, and it seems like there's a lot of peaceful protesters, but then there's a handful of bad apples that are really spoiling the bunch, which is really sad. So, anyway, it's been a struggle. I've had some pretty sad days, to be honest. Oh, and there goes all my viewers as soon as I start talking about that stuff. Oh well. Oh well. Now, I like this overhead lighting with the shadows, but I do think we need to add a bit of a fill. I think I'm going to do that. Just a very simple sky object. The gradient. Just make a luminant texture. Make that a gradient. And then we'll throw on, let's go effect, GI. And I'm just gonna mess with this default. I almost never touch these presets. I'm gonna turn this to exterior preview. That should be a fairly quick rendering, and I think it will try to emulate outdoor lighting, which is good. So we still have that strong overhead light, but now we've got a little bit of a fill light so we can start to see some of these details. Very nice. Coming together. I'm going to turn up the smoothing a bit. Feeling that. Getting there. Academy Color Encoding System. Oh, okay. I've actually heard of this now that you mention it and tell me what it means. That's basically what they use in the movies, right? Which gives you, like, it has a wider gamma, right? Like a wider mid-range, something like that. More realistic. Isn't that what they used for the Lego movie? Correct me if I'm wrong. I very well could be. Nice. Are you enjoying it so far? Higher dynamic range and wider color gamut. Oh, cool. Yeah. All right. So I did sort of know what it was. Sort of. Let's see if we could take, not sure what color I'm going to want for the background, but let's make a material for the floor and go real dark with it. I'm going to add a little bit of blue. I'm going to keep it mostly dark. I'm going to group my landscapes, just kind of call this my floor. I always like to keep the floor near my camera at the bottom of my hierarchy. Nice. I think I missed one. Nope, that's weird. Maybe a bit too dark. Yeah, I want to add a little bit of detail to the ground here, but I don't want that to take away from our cool character design. As you know, anyone who's watched this channel for a while knows I'm a big fan of just taking landscapes and kind of compiling them in a way. I think come to think of it, Chris, I think the Aces, what do you call it? It's not a rendering engine per se. It's how would you describe it? Color mode, an output mode. It first came to my attention with those Quarter Crew movie videos. The Quarter Crew, I'm sure you guys all know about it, do this series of CG artist reacts to CGI from different films, and they were covering the Lego movie and talking about the Aces, all that color spectrum, not a color palette. Yeah, see, so this is good. So the spotlight is giving us a little bit of detail and allowing us to see kind of what's going on in the immediate area around this character, but we're not getting the whole thing around it. I think I might want to come up just a little bit with the brightness. Actually, instead of adjusting the sky material, I'm just going to increase the gamma to, let's say, 1.5. You can see how that really makes our midtones a lot brighter. Might even be too much. And a little bit of warmth here. Color management, color space. I guess, yeah, maybe color space is what you'd call it. Like sRGB is a color space. Like linear, what'd you call it? Linear color space. Gosh, you can tell how technical I am when I talk about this. Which one's down just a little bit? Let's say 1.3. All right, now maybe it's time to start playing with materiality for our character. Again, I'm not sure that I want to go too saturated on this stuff. I want to turn the reflectance down. So let's... it's so funny. Let's just make a couple materials, a couple different colors. I'm going to want maybe a brownish red. Ana. What's up, Fernando? I'm not sure what that means, but it sounds awesome. I'm really happy with how this is coming together so far. All right, so what color should we make those capped mushrooms? Let's just make them kind of a pale yellowish brown. think what I might want to do is add a little bit of a gradient to that. So let's go more red here, kind of an orangey red, vertical. Let's multiply that. I think that's too dark. Cool. What happens if I delete this tag? That's what we want. Let's see. Nope. Hit undo until I get those tags back. Let's see if I can just go. Zoom in on one of these dudes too. Now I think I'm going to have to add it to each of these individually. This is sort of treating the whole thing as a group. Let's get in there and check out this dude and see how he is oriented. Just way too big. So let's try and do these as a group. Let's say 20. And 20. Let's say 10. I don't either, my friend. There we go. Now we're getting a little bit of a fade in the gradient. Perfect. Yeah, I'm with you, Chris, on the technical jargon. It can be tough to keep up with. Yeah, so I'm happy with how this is coming together, to be honest. A lot of good stuff here. Fairly short order. I'm going to make that a bit brighter and a bit more yellow. I'm actually going to take all of these, add a luminance, drop the luminance down to nothing, then add subsurface scattering to the luminance channel. And we've got a little bit of a lag here. No crash, please, no crash. Oh boy. What I'm going to do is, since I'm not using this anymore, I'm going to discard this dude. I'm going to close this just to save a little bit more. Of my CPU. See what that does for us. That's going to let the light kind of penetrate into the model a little bit, which I think should look pretty sweet. That really helps with our mid-ranges. These guys, actually for all of them, go in and just turn the path length down, because actually the scale of our model is really small. I only want the light to penetrate a little bit into the model. I don't want to pass all the way through. So even turning it down to 1, let's just see what we get there. Roughly just the edges will have a bit of that penetration. So let's compare it. That they're like passing all the way through. Now that's closer to what we want. Getting a little bit of sort of a waxy effect. I'm gonna turn the gamut down a touch. I'm gonna turn the intensity up maybe 10 or 15%. Skylight, or on my spotlight rather. Yeah, we're getting a little bit more contrast here. We're still getting some light sticking in, which is great. All right, now I think we need a material for these strandy sort of fellas. What do you think? We can go into the yellow a little bit. It should be lighter. Less saturated. Yeah, that helps a lot, doesn't it, Chris? Oh, let's go to... Actually, let's try this. I think there's only one set of capsules in here. Or one type of capsule, so I can just search those out instead of digging into each of those hierarchies. And we lost all the viewers. I wonder if that's another technical error. What is there? A bit too close, I think, to cat mushrooms. Yeah, like look how much better these particular mushrooms look. Much better, world of difference. I like those so much. I'm gonna add a whole bunch more. We really need to lean into those dudes. One sphere off by himself outside of a group. Bad sphere. Bad sphere. Yeah, I love, SSS does so much for us here. You can see how the light's really pushing through this guy, but then these dudes who are underneath other bits of geometry get less light through them. It gives you just a much more realistic look. I'm a fan. Some of the smaller ones I think are a little too thin. Pick them up a bit. Oops. I wanna, these spheres I think are a little bit too uniform. So I'm just gonna use a displacement right in the material itself. Add a little bit of noise. Just a little bit. Let's see what that gets us. Certainly going to add to the render times. That's one of the great things about this new computer is I don't have to shy away from intense rendering so much anymore. See how that treats us. Yeah, that looks pretty cool. This cloner guy, I'm going to add a few more segments. I'm going to turn up the Fong angle because it's getting kind of jaggedy there. All right, and what I'm going to do as well, I'm going to we'll look up some pictures of fungus. So I want to do a few different types. Let's get inspired. Already got some stuff sort of like this. Those are cool. Those are cool too. And how inspiring. Ew. There's your toenails there. Ooh, now I wonder if we could do this type of thing. How to do that? Man, that pattern is so cool. Let's see. Now, I know we can get something similar to that using Voronoi fracture, right? Offset the fragments a little bit. Good. Copy of this. Actually, I should probably do a little bit easier to work with. Disk as opposed to a plane. How am I finding the move to the PC? Asks Chris. It's been good. There's some things I don't like about Windows, to be honest. One of my major things is I used to be able to hit like Option 8, for example, for like a bullet point character. Like all the special characters are totally different, which, you know, is kind of frustrating. Okay, so it's good. I mean, having a higher power computer is definitely huge. Select edges. Come on, let me do that. So check this out. Maybe now if I go to, say, edge to spline, that's going to make them all individual. Let's do this then. We'll just go through and select them all. Edge to spline is powerful. Powerful edge to spline. Wonder if I could have folded these all together. Made a single object before I did this. I don't know. Oh well. Got them now. Almost done selecting. All right, so now we've got an edge or a set of splines. Now if I go to connect, and then I can sweep them. Let's add inside. Look like this. Looks a little bit like it. What am I going to do with it? There's another thing I can do. Select all of these and chamfer them just to smooth them out a little bit. All right, let's see if we can, actually let's modify it a little bit so it becomes visible. I've got an idea for how to do this, so I'm gonna throw that in another null. Then I'm going to hit spherify, add that. I can sort of bulge it out, and that way I can kind of hide the edges in the model. What happens if we take this, put in a volume builder and a volume mesher? It's going to disappear, but let's go down to like 1. Yeah, that's actually looking okay. So bad. Not bad for making it up on the fly. Cool. Well, there's the pup. This is a very dense mesh. Just might be worth it. Let's increase that spherify. Probably what I should do is apply that to the if that made a difference. Apply that to the spline instead of the whole hierarchy itself. And we're getting a little bit of a freeze here. No bueno. Oh boy. Come on, baby. This is frustrating. I think it's still trying. There we go, did it. Whoa, okay, that's why I was calculating all that stuff. All right. Let's isolate this. I guess I just did not like having that spherify inside of the hierarchy. Try this again. All right, I mean, that's not exactly what I had in mind, to be honest. Let's see if we can just add a smooth hierarchy. That helps us out a bit. Live with that. All right, back to business. All right, let's try it out. That was some doing, but then I think we figured it out. What's up, Colored Sketches? Do I ever? Yeah, I mean, I do try not to get jealous of other people's work, but you know, I'm only human. It can happen. At this point, no, it doesn't make me want to like switch what I do. Although I would always say, you know, you see something that's inspiring, but it's in a different medium than the one you typically work in, I would say try that medium. There's no reason not to try it. Doesn't mean you can't come back to the medium that you've always worked in before as well. So I think that's a bit of a false dichotomy. Try it out. Thanks for tuning in. For sure. Why do you like the look of this 3D stuff? It's pretty neat, right? I mean, when I was, I guess I could sort of relate to what you're saying. When I was earlier in my career, about 10 or so years ago, I was only working in 2D. I was doing digital art, but I was doing a lot of like Photoshop painting and a lot of like vectors in Illustrator. And I saw all this really cool stuff happening with 3D art. I wanted to learn it. I wanted to be a part of it. So I did. I started incorporating that into my workflow. And at first, it was really just a matter of, First, it was a matter of using 3D programs as, you know, sort of an addition to my 2D workflow. And then as I got better at them, started using them more and more, they it's sort of reversed, whereas the 2D stuff became an addition to my 3D workflow. And I really got comfortable enough to do most of my work directly in the 3D applications. Cool. That was a kind of a tricky fungus to make, but I'm glad we added it. It looks pretty neat. This dude's a little bit lost in there. Right, now let's get back to our reference. Let's see, are there other cool fungi that we can mess with? I thought you were the fun guy. I had a biology teacher in high school who used to say that. I thought you were the fun guy, because I think it's actually pronounced fungi. But, you know. What's interesting is I'll finish my thought in just a second. I make that more sort of see-through. So the displacement doesn't seem to be affecting these spheres. And these spheres, all it's doing is making the subdivisions jagged. Actually, let's go rounded geometry. Let's just crank it up. See what we get. $2D is overcrowded. What are the possible clients for 3D? I mean, same kind of thing. All kinds of stuff. I mean, 3D opens up the world of video games and VR and AR in a way that 2D rendering doesn't. But I'll tell you, the 3D illustration world is getting fairly crowded as well. Go. That's better. They're more kind of blobby now. A little more blobby. What we should do. That down a bit. I think that was our problem, the scale of the noise. Might be too much. Let's see what we get. Interesting already. Yeah, probably better. Now, I'm going to turn this back to Icasa. That's better. This guy got too thick. Turn the radius down here. Just a touch. And let's add our wispy pal. All right. Yeah, I'm happy with where this is headed. Kind of cool, huh? I don't know why these guys, see, some of these spheres are really getting warped and some of them aren't at all. I wonder what's going on. Maybe they're not all in here? No? Just need a few more subdivisions. Could be it. All right. Oops. I think we could zoom in a little bit. Let's get our character a little bit more in view. I'm going to adjust that protection tag off just briefly. Zoom in just a touch. Good. What's up, Nathan? Mushroom man. Well, mushroom woman, actually. What's up, Miltar? Hello, thank you. Appreciate you tuning in. So weird. Look how some of these straight up aren't affected. I think it's because we have render perfect turned on. That doesn't do it. I'm not sure what will. Let's group these. Voronoi. I still think we could add one more type of mushroom. Got a handful of different types going on, and that finally did it for us there. I guess you got to turn render perfect off. That's cool. Now we know. That's kind of cool. Look at this guy. He sort of tilts upwards. Let's do that. Test render while we're building, and I'm just going to pop into another file. Actually, what? Close that. I know one of these untitles we've got. Let's just modify this dude. So what I want to do is I'm going to hit KL for our loop cut. I'm going to select the outer ring here. Go to soft selection. Kind of bring that dude up. That was easier than modeling it from scratch. Whoops. I didn't make it. I didn't make it through the whole stream without hitting the Windows button accidentally. And there's the dog. I have no problem with the country. Georgia is just fine in my book. Oh, I guess that was directed to Miltar themselves. Understood. All right, giant mushroom, too big to start. I'm gonna replace or reconfigure that starts from, so I can just position it a little easier. And what I'm also gonna do is make a new material. These guys, let's make it a little brighter, a little more orange. Maybe these ones will just be smaller. Mix them in. Might also be worth throwing them in a subdivision surface just to smooth them out a little bit. Whoops. I want to make that area in the center a little bit deeper. Cool. Maybe even going towards the pink range might be kind of cool. Just to get a hit of some kind of warmer, more saturated stuff going on. A reddish pink. Kind of neat. Always adjust. Foot fungus here, huh? A little different than your typical foot fungus. Yeah, I think this bit of reddish pink. It's going to go really nicely with the green as an accent color. You may know red and green are complementary, i.e. they are on opposite ends of the color wheel. And they tend to go really well with one another. All right, let's see what we got. Oh yeah, I'm liking that. Oh, some sort of stretch in my shoulders here. I think what I might even do is go a little pinker. A little more saturated on these guys. And this, I'm going to go a little more orange, a little darker. Yeah, I like that. Kind of separates the two a little bit more. I'm going to add a bit of blue to the shadows. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn GI up a little bit. But I don't want to lose the contrast I have here. I just want the light to travel a little further. Then I'm going to go into the sky, the light, my overhead light here. I'm going to go to the shadow. I'm going to turn the density up like, 20%. Because turning the gamma up is going to brighten my midtones. But to counterbalance that, I want to add just a little bit more shadow. I think that's going to make the subsurface scattering a little bit more apparent with a higher gamma. Like that. So maybe too dark on the shadows. Go down a bit there. The gamma too. Oops. Accidentally pressed Shift R with the density selected instead of just pressing it here so that I got my rendering going. Oh, thanks, Colored Sketches. Yeah, I mean, consistency is really important for your artwork. Anything you want to get good at, you have to practice a lot. Yeah, like think about like a professional athlete. Do you think they only practice when they're inspired? No, they have to practice every day or nearly every day. Be very consistent. Yeah, if you like what you see, hit that subscribe button because we got new videos every Tuesday. Getting pretty close. I think I went overboard with that shadow density. Let's have it at 105. GI where it is, and then maybe we can go into this sky material. Just that a little bit. Uh-oh. That's going to be a problem. What's weird is I'm noticing that, I didn't notice this at first, but the placement of the random spheres is not the same as they're appearing in the rendering, which is kind of annoying because they're intersecting stuff where I don't want them to be. This guy. getting pretty close to where we ultimately want to be. I'll take a few of these free guys. Right. Let's do one last test rendering. I think I'm about to increase the quality settings and kick out a final. Maybe I'll do this first, actually. I want to make these guys a little bit more visible. They're very, very cool and they're a little bit lost there. Let's try that out. Better? Tirtiyasa, thank you. All right, one last test rendering. Right, okay. So right, I think that'll do it. Save this bad boy and get the rendering going. While that's going, I'm going to boot up Photoshop so we can retouch this dude a bit. Shouldn't take too long. I think the anti-aliasing will obviously add. Well, that's all right. Don't forget to stretch while you're sitting in front of your computer all day. Now these subsurface caches take a moment. That's not so bad. I don't sell art prints so much, but I would consider making this one available. Would you be interested in getting one? I do have some stuff available on my Society 6. If you search for Diligence in Society 6, you'll see a bunch of stuff there available. But much of that is pretty old. It's fairly old. But I do really like this one. Maybe this is worth uploading to Society 6. Maybe later when I'm off the stream, I'll put out a really huge rendering of this guy. So that only took a minute and a half. Let's save a copy. Yep. And let's find our Fungus guy. Actually turned out to be Fungus gal, didn't it? Up in Photoshop, you can see body light is a little different. Now, maybe it's not. It's about the same. And I'm not going to do a lot of retouching. Just want to adjust the color balance a little bit. Let's get our curves going. I like to add just a bit of blue to the shadows. Oh, thanks, man. That's cool to hear. Appreciate that. Cool. Let's see, so there's our original curves, some levels, hue saturation. Very good. I think I am ready to call that finished piece. Well, congratulations, you made it to the end. I had a lot of fun on this one. Episode 196. If you found this useful, please share it with a pal. Hit that subscribe and thumbs up button. We've got new videos every Tuesday. Really very appreciative of each and every one of you. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for helping the channel to grow. I should mention that, looking at the YouTube stats, most of the people who watch this video are not subscribed, so it would really help the channel grow if you hit that subscribe button. So thank you very much. If you want to keep up with me and the work that I'm doing, hit me up on DLGNCE on the Instagrams and social medias. The website is diligence.studio. And this is Stuart saying thanks very much, goodbye, and see you next week.